Hey guys, this is the Dream It Alive show. I'm your host, Ash Kumra, co-founder of DreamItAlive.com. We are a global community and online social network that guides you to create your dream life with visualization tools, dream boards, and helpful personal development content. So check it out at DreamItAlive.com. Why not become the best version of yourself? So today's guest is someone who is near and dear to my heart personally. His name is Stephenson, and I'm pretty certain many of you have heard of him. He is all around the speaking circuit. His book, Get Off Your Butt, has really taken off. It's a really amazing book. I actually read it recently, and it's been really awesome. He has worked with amazing luminaries. He has touched the lives of famous people and inspirational figures that we all know about, including Sir Richard Branson, President Clinton, and His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. His message has been heard across 15 countries, 47 states over the past 16 years. And what's awesome about him is that he's also a board-certified therapist. So a lot of the things that he shares with you, he has the goods to back it up. And, you know, Sean's story is something that no matter what stage of life you are, no matter what situation you are dealing with, I think you will just get inspired and want to take yourself to the next level. So without further ado, let's get Sean on the air. How you doing, Sean?
Good. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good, man. First off, I just want to say, loved your book. I actually reread it the other week. We briefly met at a conference that our dear friend Eben Pagan was holding, and after talking to you very briefly about doing this interview, I reread it, and it's a great book.
Thank you.
So, Sean, tell us a little about your journey. For those who don't know who you are, how did you find your calling and get to where you are right now?
Well, I'm constantly finding it. It continues to unfold over the course of your life. That's how I see it. But I think what will be most valuable and interesting to your listeners is that I come bearing a unique container condition, and that I feel like gets people to put their attention on me at first. And that's that I was born, 3 feet tall, and I use a wheelchair. Well, actually, I wasn't born 3 feet tall, but I grew only to a height of 3 feet tall. And so with my condition, I had over 200 bone fractures, many challenges and complications growing up, people staring at me, just a host of challenges that I went through. And yet I was fortunate enough to have an incredible set of parents, a great support group, and at some point in my life, I made a massive shift, and that it was when I fell in love with personal growth. And that's when I came across everything from Tony Robbins to NLP to a lot of other experts in the field that I very much modeled my career around, and took my life to the next level by getting into improving my mind, my body, my spirit, and health, wealth, and relationships. And I've been blessed to have a career that is, as you said in the intro, taken me quite a lot of places. And, that's just about me. And I think it's, might be interesting to some people to know, but really I know that your listener is not caring about me as much as they're caring about themselves, as they should. Everyone has a me filter in their brain, and we can either deny it and try to act all super uber humble, or we can be truthful and say that when we are listening to something, we're listening with the antenna of how is this going to impact me, how's it going to improve my life, how's it going to get me more of what I want. And so what I hope that we create in this interview is a host of value for your listener to say, wow, I can use that.
Okay, so if someone had to describe your core message, what would it be?
Well, my core mission probably has been a part of my message, which is I'm here to rid the world of insecurity. And I know that's a daunting task, and I know many people would say it's not possible. But, they've said that things weren't possible throughout human history, and we've continued to break records as a race. And so my message that is kind of developed out of that core mission of ridding the world of insecurity is that you only have control over two things: what you make something mean and how you respond to it. And it doesn't matter if you were in a horrible war-torn country or you were born into wealth and were handed everything at birth, and everything in between. You decide what you make the events in your life mean, and then you decide how you're going to respond to those events. And my message has clearly been stated many times in many different ways and many different platforms. If you don't like your life, it's because you're interpreting it in a way that is not empowering you, and you're responding in a way that's probably not getting you the results you want.
I love that. I love that. When did you realize this moment? I mean, you talked about your upbringing. You talked about some of the, at the moment, things that you had to deal with. I just would like to, I'm all about modeling and learning on, how someone overcame their own specific experience. Would you mind telling us about, what that moment was? Like, how did you shift?
Well, I think there's a few moments, and they continue to appear. I don't want to act like I'm now fully realized and that my disability and my challenges in life don't exist anymore and I don't have to deal with them. I certainly do. So I still have moments where I'm breaking through to the next level of my own confidence and powers, if you will. But it's unraveled and unfolded over the years in several different instances. Probably the biggest was when I was in fourth grade, and I had just fractured a femur, one of the biggest bones in your body, and I had fractured it just playing around on the floor. And it was a turning point because I was so angry. I wasn't going to get to go to school and engage in the parties that were going on because it was Halloween. And my mom asked me a pivotal question. She said, "Is this going to be a gift or a burden in your life?" referring to my condition. And I think we all have to answer that question when we're going through difficult, unfair moments. Am I going to see this as a gift that life is happening for me, or am I going to see it as a burden that life is happening to me? And I've continued to have moments like that appear where I have to ask the question to myself, am I going to make this a gift or a burden? Is this happening for me or to me? And as you grow into the mindset that life happens for you, then you're not a slave or a victim to outside circumstances determining how successful you are, how happy you are, your level of fulfillment, because you turn inward, and we have full dominion over our inward world, whereas I don't control anything externally. I'm not in control of the economy, the weather, and any other human being. So to play that game of I want my life to be perfectly controlled externally is an honest setup for disappointment.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that that message there, that experience. How do you stay so grounded? I mean, one of the things that I'm hearing from this interview is that you have this calmness to yourself. You have this kind of Zen-like focus on, I'm living right now. I'm making things happen. I mean, what are some of the habits or things that you practice? I mean, you briefly mentioned NLP. If that's something you do, tell us about that too. But how do you stay grounded like the way you are right now?
Sure. Well, let's reveal the magic trick, if you will, which is going to make me look less cool, but hopefully help people, which is the ultimate goal. So to make myself look less cool but help people, I would say that I have many moments where I'm not calm, where I'm emo and disappointed and sad and angry, and those certainly happen every week, every month. They occur. I think what you're referring to in terms of grounded Zen energy is that when I have those moments of emo and disappointment and anger, and I'm acting all childish, but behind closed doors because I wouldn't want anybody to see it. Is I catch myself as quick as possible, and through either a reference that Mindy, my wife, uses a lot is, are you going to trust the process of what you're going through right now? Or are you going to act like this is being done to you and you're choosing to be a victim? And so I feel what separates me from a lot of people is I'm no different than them. I have the same set of emotions, but I don't stay in those negative emotions as long as most people do. I try to bounce back as fast as possible. And it really comes down to just observing the ego. Where is my ego keeping me small, keeping me disconnected from others, keeping me from being real and authentic? And as long as I'm aware that my ego is running and it's in the background and it's wanting to take the lead, then I can usually stay ahead of it. If I act like the ego's not there, or I tell myself I'm fully self-realized and that I'm Zen-like at all times, then the ego gets the upper hand. And I think what you're hearing is a lot of rituals to make sure that I'm in control of my ego. And those rituals vary. I have of something I call the When Life Works list. When Life Works list, just to be clear on each of those words for everybody. And that's a list of activities. I have 16 of them, but I don't do all 16 in a day. I might only do a quarter of my list in a day. And those activities are, I got it right in front of me here, hydrate, exercise, meditate, journal, consistent restful sleep, hygiene and groom, stay organized, have a whole meal of nothing but vegetables, review marketing materials, review materials about making money, reach out to mentors, spend one-on-one time with Mindy, all these different activities. There's 16 of them, but if I do 4 of them in a day, just 1/4 of my list, I have that rock-solid Zen-like focus that the ego is not running the show. But when I don't do my list, when I do my When Life Sucks list, where I'm maybe sleeping in consistently, not in a restful way, but in a way of trying to avoid my life, if I'm not shaving and I'm just letting myself get all bushy and gross and not taking showers, because when you work for yourself, you can go a long time without showering if you want to, and that gets nasty. And so, it's the little details of what I call self-care. The cure to insecurity is self-care. When you take really good care of yourself, unapologetically, not having to take or diminish anyone else in doing so, your sense of well-being and your sense of awareness of what needs to be done is very clear and it's very powerfully apparent to you. But when you aren't taking good care of yourself, you make bad decisions because you're making it from a low energetic space.
So when you talk about getting rid of your insecurities, what do you think is not helping people right now in society? Like, what are some, let me be more specific, because you're a therapist, so I want to have I know this is something that is near and dear to your heart, and you've probably studied this and worked with your clients. What are some things people are doing wrong, or things that could not help one get rid of this insecurity? Like, what are some just things that come to your mind?
Well, they choose a life of gratification over fulfillment. And I'll just give you a definition of the two in my world. Gratification is anything that gives you pleasure instantly with no effort, but then long-term consequence. Whereas fulfillment takes upfront effort. It's sometimes not pleasant in the beginning, but gives you a long-term gain, benefit, and feel-good energy. So an example would be when you go to the gym and you're putting your muscles under heavy weight and tension, it doesn't feel good in the moment. In fact, a lot of people avoid the gym, and sometimes I'm one of those people, because they don't want to feel the burn, and they don't want to huff and puff, and it's so much easier to sit on your couch, eat cheesy popcorn, and play PlayStation. Like, I get it. I do that at times. And gratification in small doses, I think, is human and normal, but when it becomes addictive, when it's used as a way of avoidance for what you need to be doing, where you just start, and I've done this, where you just start mindlessly engaging in a behavior just because you want to feel good now, and that catches up with you, and it breaks down your sense of self-confidence. Anytime you're just continually gratifying yourself, your self-confidence and your self-worth begins to get, shaky. It's on shaky ground. Whereas when you're doing things that are fulfilling, like reading a book takes time. There's upfront effort going in. It's not just spoon-fed to you. You have to do the work. Going to the gym, anything that you do that grows your mind, body, your spirit, or anything that you do that gives back to others. It takes some effort to go to a soup kitchen and ladle out soup to people that don't look like you or maybe don't dress like you. It takes effort to do the research on how you can give back to those that are challenged. It's not as easy as just hopping onto your couch and hitting the power button on your remote. And yet it's got a much better shelf life of positivity. I've never, in my 14 years of being a therapist, had somebody sit down on my couch and say, Sean, I work on a soup kitchen on the weekends. I knit sweaters for the homeless. I adopted 2 children from a third world country. I exercise every day. I eat right. I meditate. And I want to kill myself. I never hear that. I never hear somebody giving back to the planet and taking care of themselves ever miserable and suicidal. It's not to say it's not possible, but I've never seen it in 14 years in all of my clients. And it's because when you take great care of yourself and you take care of others, you have something to live for.
What do you live for right now?
What I live for right now? Well, I live for a few things, personally and professionally. Personally, I live for being the best husband on the planet, just taking great care of Mindy in every way I can, and receiving her love and care. It's easy to want to be the martyr and take care of somebody else, but not let the love back in. So I live for being the best husband. I live for being an incredible friend. I'd say one of my highest values is friendship. And I drive some of my family nuts because I look at friendship on par with family. And they would like me to put family one step above friendship. But I really think that, family and friends, to me, I'm going to love them equally, that I take great care of those that are close to me. And so friendship is something I live for. I'm constantly looking to add really great people into my life that would bring intense value to me, and I would bring intense value to them. Professionally, I live for a new area of my career. I've spent 21 years traveling the world speaking and working with people of all walks of life. And now I'm at the point, even though I'm 35 years old, I started when I was obviously very young, now I'm at the point where I don't want to travel as much. I've been to beautiful islands, I've been to gorgeous cities that are thousands of years old. I steeped myself in rich cultures, and I loved that. And I'm not saying I'll never travel again. I'm just at a point now in my life where I want to have the world come to me. As arrogant as that may sound, it's not meant to be. I'm just at a place now where I don't want to be a prince anymore. I found my queen. I don't want to travel the lands and see the fair maidens and eat the foods of all the other lands. I want the people of the planet to come to my kingdom and see what I have to offer and learn from me and be a part of my game that I'm building. And that is teaching people how to be speakers, world thought leaders, share their message through podcasts and blogs and live stages and videos. That my goal is to teach people how to get their thoughts that they think are valuable for the planet to hear and learn from. How do they get that message out there in a way that they're paid handsomely for it, and that it's fun to do, and it's of great value to the human race. So now I'm building my kingdom, teaching people how to become world thought leaders by holding my own seminars and trainings where I live here in Scottsdale, Arizona.
That's amazing. Well, part of that was regarding your training and the things that you're doing is your book. I mean, I know I've said this several times, but your book is amazing. I mean, and if anyone even does a Google search, I mean, it's been blessed by people like Richard Branson and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Tell us about this book. Like, what was the genesis behind it, and what was the mission you would feel that it should share with others?
Well, I'll say the book has taken on a life of its own. I would like to take credit for all of it, but at this point, it's got something magical behind it that's not even about me anymore. It's about all the wisdom that I collected from many other mentors and schools of thought on how to live life in a way that's pleasurable and valuable. And I just kind of squeezed all that together into these pages of this book. And so, there's a lot of original thought in it, but a lot of it is also what I have used and learned from others. And the book now, I think we're going into our 10th language around the world. And it's one of my favorite moments is when my literary agent mails me a copy of the book translated in a new language, and I can put it on the bookshelf and just see how the message, when it's meant to really help people, it will long outlive you. I really do hope that this book goes on to be reprinted for many years after I'm, long gone. And the book has taken a life of its own because I spent a lot of time in the early days pushing it into existence. When you want to write a book, it's literally like having a baby. You first got to get knocked up by the universe to have the idea, and then you got to have it. You have to have it grow inside of you, where you have to come up with the ideas that, how are you going to give it, life? What is the book going to be about? And you start putting together everything from the table of contents to the testimonial page to, each of the chapters, excuse me, and all the components that you need for a book. And then once it's actually grown into a full-blown piece of work, then it's birthed. And that's where the real work begins, because anybody could write a book. Not anybody could sell a book. Not everybody has the, I believe, the patience, the thick skin, and the perseverance to get a book out there in a marketplace that is just oversaturated with lots of information. I mean, the self-help section alone is probably one of the largest sections in a bookstore. And so to cut through the noise and to get a book out there is difficult enough, let alone have it sell and be in multiple languages around the world. And I think the power behind why it continues to roll down the hill and gain momentum is because the message is very clear. You do not need to sabotage yourself. That is a pattern that you can eliminate. You can't eliminate the evil from this world, but you can eliminate the evil from yourself. You can't eliminate the problems from the world, but you can eliminate the problems from yourself. It's like, I think it was Mahatma Gandhi that said, be the change you want to see in the world, and it's so true. So the book was a passion piece of mine that I'm, so proud of, that it's continuing to help people. And it's neat because it's able to sit on a nightstand in a child's room who may be 13 years old, and he's on the other side of the planet in Japan, and he's going through a tough time of dealing with his insecurities, and he's able to reach out to this book, and then he's able to reach out to a boy in Morocco, and a girl in Lithuania, and a young couple who just bought a house, and they're scared that they're going to not have the money for their mortgage payments in Detroit, Michigan, and so it's able to through its existence multiply my abilities to reach people and to have me be cloned, if you will. So that's the power of books. That's the power of getting your message out in a physical format that is able to be in multiple places that you cannot be at once.
Okay, well, you said something that was really interesting. You talked about how there's so many self-help books out there, and I feel like you that self-help industry is going nowhere but up right now. What are some things, whether it would be a book you would write or a book you'd want to buy, that's self-help related that you'd like to see out there?
Well, I feel like I wrote mine, and that's, people ask me a lot, when's your next book coming out? And, I'm kind of in the Tony Robbins model. Tony just released his third book after decades in between his last one. And I kind of feel the same way, that when you squeeze everything out of you that you want to say, it's not necessarily, for me, something I want to go whip out another book just to get more sales and visibility. Until I'm moved, and I'm feeling the start now, because it's been about 6 years since that book came out. I'm feeling the nudge to look at the next book that I might write, and I guess the next book that I would be interested to bring into the world is about how there's something underneath confidence that we're all craving, and everybody thinks it's confidence. We think, if you're more confident, you make more money. If you're more confident, you get more, dates, and love life improves, and confidence is a part of it, but I think that there's something underneath it, and that is congruence. That when somebody's congruent, that's far more powerful. And congruent means that your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions all line up perfectly, that there's no dissonance, that there's no disagreement between those three elements. And, when you see somebody who's congruent, it's empowering, it's refreshing, it's intoxicating. And not all congruence is healthy. Let me get that clear. Hitler was very congruent about, ridding the planet of Jews. I don't agree with that. I think he was able to mobilize lots of people to do it because he was very clear that his thoughts, his words, and his actions were aligned. And yet, so was Martin Luther King. So is Mother Teresa. Individuals whose thoughts, words, and actions are lined up solidly, and they move forward without any doubt or question of their mission. That's something that we all pay attention to, and that's beyond confidence. Confidence feels like, I have what it takes. Congruence means, I am beyond what I have that it takes. I know that I'm put on this planet to drive something big, and I have an energy through lining my thoughts, words, and actions that I can mobilize the planet. I can mobilize millions of people to see my vision. Sadly, if it's used in negative, evil ways, it does have negative, evil consequences.
Wow. Well, Sean, my last question for you, and first off, that was a really, really amazing answer. What is some advice you would give to a younger version of yourself, specifically that person who is about to make that change in their life, where they said, you know what, I'm gonna attempt to work on getting rid of my insecurities in a major way. I'm gonna start to get into self-help work. I'm myself going to help transform people. A person who's right about to start that journey. What would you say to that person?
Well, is that person a younger version of me, or just another person?
The younger version of you.
Yeah, a younger version of me, I would say, I'd say something on the personal side and something on the professional side. On the personal side, I would say stop seeking validation from others. You'll never get it. Start seeking validation from yourself. It will feel better than anything you could ever get externally. Have your whole life be guided by what feels good to you and what you know you need to be doing, not what feels good to others and what other people would like you to be doing. I would say that from the personal side. From the professional side, I would say study and master marketing early and often, and do not be afraid to market. Fall in love with marketing, your message, your products, your services. Never feel guilty or bad for getting into the world what you have to offer. People will fear money and people will crave money. That is a part of life because money is a representative of survival and status. And instead of getting in the trap of thinking that it's money you're seeking, instead get into the excitement that it's value that you need to spread. And the more you spread value by powerful marketing, the money will flock to you. You won't even need to think about the money.
Wow. Well, Sean, thank you so much for doing this interview, and more importantly, thank you for making the world be a better place. I truly am a personal fan of you. I know many of our friends just love your message, and I just can't wait to see the continued work that you're going to be doing and the gratitude and abundance that you're going to be sharing with the world.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure, and thank you for doing what you're doing. You're spreading great ideas into the world, and you're a stand for your own mission, and I am humbled and honored to be a part of this. So thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too.